The Book of Bill is here, and yes, I am very late to the party, but that doesn't mean there's not lots to talk about. This book is filled to the brim with Easter eggs and secrets. Since there's so much to cover, here we'll have a little contents table showing all the different timestamps for the different sections of the video. So first, let's compare the two different copies of the Book of Bill. We have the standard edition with the red cover, and the special edition in gold. Now, I wouldn't worry too much if you only got the standard edition of the Book of Bill, because, as far as I could tell, besides the gold cover, the only difference is there's an extra chapter, called More Secrets. In the normal edition, this chapter would be between the page, My Horrible Heads, and the Dreams page. So what dark secrets will Bill reveal about Gravity Falls? Well, not too much to be honest. He tells us how to call him, in case you ever feeling lonely. He talks about cults. He discusses deep moral philosophy problems. He shows us how to hypnotize our enemies. This could be useful for later. He also gives us his personal thoughts on holidays. Not gonna lie, Bill is kind of a Grinch. And to top it off, he gives us some of his general favorite facts about the universe. He also has this weird ad for his merch, the Scrubber Bill.
You've done things, terrible things, things you can never wash away, unless you use the Scrubber Bill, the miracle scrubber that works on glass, non-stick coatings, granite, wood, stainless steel, and bone! Order your Scrubber Bill now! Just call 1-800-555-9. Rush delivery available. The Scrubber Bill is not responsible for Satan's death and psychological trauma.
So that's mostly it. I'm glad there's nothing too big in the special edition. The good stuff should be easily accessible. Overall, the special edition gives us more fun content, and just beefs up the Book of Bill in general. Moving on. Now, a likely reason you're seeing this video is because of my Gravity Falls, Owl House, and Amphibia videos, so let's see if the Book of Bill gives us any more potential hints to a connected universe. The first reference we get is to the Owl House. In the Dark Ages section, we have two Owl House references. In the top left of the page, we have the Titan's skull. And along the right we can see Hootie twisting around this pillar. Does this mean Hootie has been around since the Dark Ages? It's definitely likely, since in Knock Knock at Hootie's Door, Amity says that house demons tend to act a little weird after a couple of thousand years.
Hootie's been acting weird all day.
Yeah, house demons get like that after a couple thousand years.
We now have an interesting Easter egg referring to Amphibia, which could have some really interesting implications. Now, spoiler warning for the end of the Book of Bill. You should really read the Book of Bill. It deserves all the support possible, and it's really worth having a spoiler-free experience. You have been warned. Okay, back to it. So Bill is trapped in an interdimensional criminal therapy prison, and we see another familiar villain here, the Core, hiding in the corner. Is this just a cool Easter egg, or is this actually canon? It definitely has potential to be real. The Core is a collection of Amphibia's greatest minds and rulers. It's made from technology from other dimensions that the Newts took when invading for resources. Maybe as they explored the multiverse, they came across the axolotl, or knowledge of him. This is all speculation, of course, but the Core definitely has the most potential in ending up in an interdimensional therapy. But the references we've covered so far are all very surface level references. But if we dig a little deeper, we can find even more. Now, as this is a Gravity Falls book, of course it's going to be stuffed to the brim with codes and secrets. And some of these have some interesting implications. On the first page about the Dark Ages, Bill is talking about a wizard he tried to convince into building a portal for him. There's a picture of this wizard, and along his tall hat is a cryptic message. Translating it reveals it to say Titan's Blood. Now, anyone who's seen Owl House knows how important Titan's Blood is. It's used to travel between dimensions, and more importantly, it's the source of magic on the Boiling Isles. Does this mean that magic in Gravity Falls comes from Titan's Blood? Or at least some of it could. Pools of Titan's Blood can create wild portals. It's not too hard to believe that the wizard Excorifics, the unpronounceable. Yeah, I can see why it's unpronounceable. But anyway, it's not hard to believe that he came across one of these pools of Titan blood and discovered its magical abilities, giving him the power of witchcraft. It definitely offers up some potential interesting ideas. But this isn't the only reference to the Owl House. On the page about witchcraft, believe it or not, there's a reference to the Owl House, the show about witchcraft. On this page, there's a candle with more cryptic messages, and it reads as Curse Widowbane. Again, if you know anything about Owl House, you know the main villain, Emperor Bellos' true name is Philip Widderbane. During the witch trials, Philip and his brother Caleb were witch hunters, but Caleb ended up falling in love with a witch. Philip, feeling betrayed by his brother, decides to backstab him. Their story became a mystery and a legend in the human realm. Their story was almost a curse. It's another interesting connection between Gravity Falls and the Owl House. All these small details just keep building up. They build up so much that my first big video was a theory video about these connections. Now, I don't just bring this up as a plug-in, also check out the video, smash like and subscribe, but the reason I actually bring it up is because in that video, I talked about how Ida was potentially Grunkle Stan's ex-wife from Vegas. Stan got scammed in Vegas, and the Book of Bill may even give us more proof. Well, not the book exactly. On the fake cover opening page, we can see a link to a website called This Is Not a Website. Despite its claims of not being a website, it very much is a website. I'll dive more into the website in a later video, but long story short, the website has a computer that you can put words into, and some give us some very juicy lore and secrets on Gravity Falls. If you put Stan's name in, you get sent to an eBay link for brass knuckles. If you keep doing this, you'll get a variety of Stan-related eBay links. Finally, after that, Bill will pull up the Wheel of Shame, revealing Stan's different shames. If you click on ex-wives, we get a list of Stan's ex-wives. The second is Marilyn. In my theory video, I went into detail on how this is possibly Ida from the Owl House. The brief description that this list gives us about Marilyn is very interesting. It says, Vegas wedding to a cursed gold tooth antique. Ida has a gold tooth, and just so happens to be cursed. More evidence pointing to Ida being Marilyn. Now, that's all I could find in terms of connections to Amphibia and Owl House, but there are plenty more general Easter eggs, starting with a Goosebumps reference. Bill has his own interpretation of a Goosebumps book. The second one I noticed references a YouTube drama that happened. Miranda Sings did an apology video, but decided to do it as a song. Apparently Bill thought this was a great idea and copied her. Then, in this interview between Bill and himself, one of the questions refers to Phineas and Ferb. The question goes, is it true you're the biological father of Phineas from Phineas and Ferb? And you know what? There actually might be something to this. I can see the resemblance, and Bill never actually answered the question. Then we have a reference to Fantasia, more specifically, the extremely ominous demon. Who do you think pulled the pose off better? I'm not sure if this counts as a reference, but there's straight up some pages from The Great Gatsby in here. Then, later on, when Bill is talking about the multiverse, he presents it as a trading card that strongly appears as a Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon card. Then later on in the Urban Legends section, there's one called Slender Man, which is a reference to Slender Man. Man, this actually reminds me of the fake Slender Man reference people thought was real in Gravity Falls. Bloody Mary also appears in this book, and she's a popular urban legend. Later, Bill talks about puppets going extinct, because at one point they were living, breathing creatures. The puppets heavily resemble the Muppets. In the Meet the Crew section, Bill and his henchmaniacs reference Friends, the show. Well, at least I think it's a reference to Friends. I haven't actually seen Friends, but their logo at least resembles the Friends logo. Returning to the Dark Ages again, we can see Bill dressed as a jester. On his cheeks he has two clubs. This could be a reference to Star vs. the Forces of Evil. In Star vs. the Forces of Evil, the different queens have different symbols on their cheeks. On the character Meteora, she has clubs on her cheeks as well, so Bill could be referencing this. Bill later infiltrates the animation industry, joining the ranks of classic 1930s animation, like Mickey Mouse, Felix the Cat, and Ducky the Rat Hog, huh? Okay, maybe not that last one. But, skipping to Bill's swinging years, where he tried to control people with music, we have two record covers. I think the bottom record has the artist George Jones on the cover, and on the top one, I'm not really sure. If you know who it is, let me know in the comments, because this one has really got me stumped. Skipping right to the end of the book, we have Cthulhu chilling in therapy. We can also see this strange fellow. He's actually from a famous painting called Saturn devouring his son. To quote Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia that anyone can edit, the painting is by Francis Goya. It's considered that the painting depicts the Greek myth of the Titan Cronus, whom the Romans called Saturn, eating one of his children, out of the fear of the prophecy that one of his children would overthrow him. So that's fun, and not disturbing at all, I guess. I couldn't really find too much on this giant ear that the core is hiding behind, other than it might have been around in Weirdmageddon. Surprisingly, this cube has more information than the ear. This cube could actually be the black cube of darkness from Wander Over Yonder.
Little black cubes of darkness, little black cubes.
And for that time wizard, I couldn't find anything on him. Maybe he's just a manifestation of time itself. Who really knows? But that's all I could find for general Easter eggs. I'm 100% sure that I missed some, so let me know if you found some that I missed. But now, let's move on to the codes and secrets. This book is filled to the brim with secret messages. Some are very interesting, and some of them, let's just say, less significant. Example, on this page about human skin, this secret message says paper is a book skin, so not really that noteworthy. So, the Book of Bill uses a number of different codes. There's a variety of substitution codes. There's Bill's substitution code, there's the author's substitution symbols, there's the Theraprison code, there's the runic symbol code, there's the alchemy symbol code, and there's the color substitution code, there's Stan and Ford's bro code, and there's the general number to letters substitute codes. Most of these codes are basic codes that switch out the letters for a substitute, so the puzzle is figuring out what symbol is what letter. The book also uses the Visioneer ciphers, which takes two wheels of the alphabet. You turn one alphabet around the other, so it moves them out of line. For example, if you move the wheel along by 2, it would mean A equals C, B equals D, C equals E, and so on. You can apply this to any number of turns within the alphabet. There's also far more elaborate codes in this book that others have solved, but I'll cover that later. So, let's get to it. The first code isn't even in the book itself, it's in the book sleeve. We have this picture of the mindscape. The code here says black and white, referring to our world and the Nightmare Realm being completely different contrasts. Then, opening the book to the inside of the cover, we have our first code, which says, even his lies are lies, warning us of Bill's scheme that he has in store for us with this book. Then, hopping over to the other side, this message says, praise the fallen angel, which is a reference to Satan being the fallen angel, except in this case referring to Bill it's an angle, for obvious reasons. Please don't make me explain this. Then, right next to this message is a Viking ruin code that says Olaf was here. Now, this only makes sense if you read a later section in the book. When Bill is trying to convince different people throughout history to build him a portal, he even ends up pissing off Vikings, who start writing runes warning everyone about Bill. The runes also say, throw Olaf overboard if he draws this shape. Bill remarks, thanks for blowing my cover, Olaf. This is actually really interesting. So it seems Olaf was someone who has fallen victim to Bill, probably even possessed by Bill. So why would Olaf be leaving secret messages in the Book of Bill? Now, I haven't really gone into much detail about the plot of the Book of Bill yet, but essentially the book is a trap made by Bill to lure the reader into letting Bill free from his current position. So why would Olaf be able to write in this book? Well, I think the people who Bill has possessed have become part of Bill, become trapped in Bill. It's a part of their soul or remnants of their mind trying to call out for help as they're trapped inside him. Now this may seem like a stretch, based off the simple Olaf was here, but throughout the book we see more secret messages that don't appear to be written from Bill, but from the people who he's possessed throughout history. I mean, think about it. The last message said, even his lies have lies. That sounds like a warning to me. And why would Bill want to warn us about himself? This is supported even further by the last code on this page, which translates to, remember us, which just screams lost souls to me. This mini-theory is basically confirmed on the page about skin. If you look at the very bottom of the page, you can see a little secret message saying, help, this is not Bill's cipher. My name is Grembly Hemberdek of Zimtrex 5. I'm one of thousands of beings Bill has devoured over trillions of years, whose souls are now trapped inside him. You have to free me, it's horrible in here. He just keeps playing the song Good Vibrations by Marky Mark on an endless loop. Please, please, this is not a joke. The Zimtrexians were once a proud and mighty people, but now our spirits long for release from this. So yeah, it doesn't really get much clearer than that. Jumping ahead a few pages, we have this code that wraps around the page. The message says, let him in and break the seal between what's fiction and what's real. So don't forget to put your hand here and make the pledge. Now for this next code, I wasn't smart enough to crack it. But thanks to the internet, we know this patch of colourful pixels says the Axolotl thinks he's won, but Cypher's games have just begun. I wonder how true this is. Is Bill just bragging, or will he actually win? On Bill's About Me page, the third fact about Bill is coded. It says, the guy who writes the codes. Very accurate. Then, across the page, there's this code that says, glutoslophony, which I guess is one of Bill's 7 new sins. But this isn't the only secret here on the Bill magazine. there is a barcode you can scan. I personally couldn't get a scanner working, but the barcode says, "Hey nerd." Whew, glad I couldn't scan it. So that means I'm not a nerd, right guys? Right? Right? Anyone? Boom! Moth jump scare. That's not the only thing that moths are good for. They can carry secret messages. This one says, "Not a phase." And that's also mirrored backwards on the other wing. In Bill's intelligence test, there is a crossword. The answer to all the questions is Bill. The last one is in binary. I didn't really trust Bill, so I needed to double check it for myself. And yes, it does just say Bill. So that was a huge waste of time. Going back to the trading card from earlier, we can see it's covered in multiple codes. It says, "Warning, folding this card may result in crossovers." Man, if only someone did a video discussing potential crossovers and connections between shows. Under this section, about our sad feeble eyes, the code says, "My optometrist never saw it coming." Back on the skin page is a second code that says, "Shave your grandma." Yeah, I've got nothing to say about that. The buff Bill Cipher's tattoos says, "Love pain." The barcode on this human heart says, "I miss the void." Is this another lost soul trapped in Bill, or Bill himself? The heart candy says, "Lies." Bill seems to really hate love. We will explore this more in depth later. On the page about cheating death, the code says, "Regrowing limbs is Axie's art, but can he regrow a ripped out heart?" Another reference to Bill's lost love. Again, I'll cover what this is all about later in the video. It deserves its own section. I'll also do the same with the Silly Straws page. On Bill's pamphlet about cults, the code says, "Say." Back to the Scrubber Bill page, we have another color cipher, and despite being on such a goofy page, the color code is definitely not funny. He never sleeps, he never dreams, but somehow still he hears their screams. This is definitely referring to Bill's home dimension, but again, I'll go into more detail later. The next code is on Dipper's Embarrassing Memories page. Hidden on the top left of the left page, in the shadows, is a dark code that reads Mason. If you didn't read Journal 3, it was revealed that Dipper's real name is actually Mason, since Dipper's just his nickname.
The Big Dipper! That's how you got your nickname. I thought your parents just hated you or something.
If you are curious about the flavor of the Bill Cipher ice cream, all you need to do is read the code, which says Boo Berry. Skipping ahead to Bill's early years page, we can see hidden on this bill is a secret code that says One-Eyed King, and I couldn't agree more. That's why he's king of my villain ranking series. Bill has a custom number plate. Oh my god, he's one of those guys. And it reads, "Suck it." Maybe it's best if he leaves that coded. He might cause some road rage. Speaking of rage, Bill has pissed off Time Baby, and his wanted sign is covered in codes. The first message refers to the destruction of Bill's home dimension, saying, "Lone survivor of the Euclidean massacre." Bill's destruction of his home dimension seems to be spread far and wide throughout the multiverse. The next message says Tantrum, obviously talking about Time Baby. Some of these codes can actually be used in the "This is not a website." So when I cover the website, a lot more will be added to some of these codes. And finally, the last code is, "Can warp narrativity protect fourth walls?" Bill definitely can manipulate the fourth wall. I mean, look at his book. His book is literally talking to the audience. And the Bill Cipher statue hunt is Bill again breaking into our world. The next code is again an important one. On the page about the shaman, the one who created the prophecy and the ritual for defeating Bill, there's another code, and it says, "Which henchmaniac ratted me out?" implying that the shaman didn't create this prophecy alone. He had help from someone on the inside. One of Bill's henchmaniacs backstabbed him. Well, later in the video, I'll have an answer for you. Later when Bill teams up with the wizard with the unpronounceable name, I'm not trying to say that again. But anyway, on the wizard's portal designs is a secret code that says, "Suck it, Merlin." After working with the wizard turned out to be a complete failure, he leaves Europe altogether and tries to make a portal in Atlantis. But unfortunately for Bill, the Emperor of Atlantis goes to war with the Lobster Lord, and this code reveals the Lobster Lord's name, which is simply Daryl. We also have a Viking stone tablet on this page. The code on here is just the alphabet. This is actually how you're supposed to learn the Viking substitution code. Bill returns to America, and on the page of his return, the code says, "Countries aren't." Going back to our old friend Ducky the Rat Hog, on the animation page, we can see a code next to the sketches of Bill. It says Rubber Hose, which is the name of the animation style in the 1930s. It refers to how characters' movement resembles rubber hoses. On this page, we have a repeating code, which just brings up Daryl again. Good old mate Daryl. We now enter the lost pages of Journal 3, which of course is stuffed with codes. The first code is on the wall behind Stanford. It says Six-Fingered Freak, showing how isolated Stanford feels at this point. This chapter is about Stanford just arriving in Gravity Falls. He's struggling to connect with the people in Gravity Falls and has never felt more alone and disconnected from everyone, making him feel like a freak. He tries to make a joke with a waitress, but it falls flat, resulting in the next code, which says Stanley could have made her laugh. On the next page, Bill tries to get Stanford to get a tattoo. Bill says it means wise one, but if we translate it, we can see that it really says, if lost, return to Bill. Bill and Ford have a heart-to-heart, venting about their past. Bill even tells Ford that his dimension was destroyed. The code says, forget the past. On the page of the photos from Stanford's past, we can see the Pine Bros holding up the bro code. This is just the alphabet in the bro code, so you can learn how to translate it. On the dream warning page, Stanford has a dream. He sees all the figures that Bill has possessed and manipulated over the years. They say one thing over and over again. I grow maddened. This is another indicator that the people who Bill possesses have become lost souls, and maybe even part of Bill. This dream is a warning about Bill, and I don't think Bill would send it. So it makes sense that the lost souls would use Bill's powers to manipulate dreams to warn Stanford, Bill's latest victim. Ford suspects the phrase I grow maddened is an anagram, but can't figure it out. The phrase is a warning, and if rearranged it says Weirdmageddon, which we know is Bill's ultimate goal. Stanford realizes that Bill isn't exactly the stand-up guy he thought he was, and tries to shut down the portal. In retaliation, whenever Ford falls asleep, Bill possesses him, and makes Stanford do embarrassing things, but on top of that, he makes him hurt himself. He makes Ford spend all night punching the door to the portal room, leaving his knuckles bloodied and sore. The code says, hopefully F's gloves will hide what Cypher has done to my hands. Bill leaves a snake in one of Ford's journals as a trap for Ford. Along the snake's body is a code. It says Ouroboros. Ouroboros is the circular snake biting its own tail, making a ring. This could mean two things. The Ouroboros generally means a never-ending cycle, telling Ford that this cycle of torment will never end unless he opens the portal. Or, less likely, it could be hinting at Weirdmageddon, because the Ouroboros means the circle of destruction and rebirth. Weirdmageddon would be the destruction of the world as we know it, and the rebirth of Bill in our world. Bill starts to really get serious with his threats. He ends up doing his angry face, and we can see in his eye two symbols that just say no. Hidden on the ripped photo of Stanford and Fiddleford is a small message written in the bro code. It says, miss you. On the same page is another bro code message. Ford is debating whether to call Stanley, and is reflecting on himself. The code says, have I been too harsh all along? This hot sauce packet from the multi-dimensional pub in the rock-bottom asteroid belt of the Vicious Spiral Nebula says hot axolotl. I don't know if the hot sauce is axolotl flavored, or if the axolotl has a hot sauce business on the side from his Pharaoh prison. Now this next code is incredibly hidden. I honestly never would have found it myself. I was watching some videos covering the secrets of the Book of Bill to double check my work. This one, as far as I know, was found by the YouTuber PooDog3. Hope that's how you say your name. He made an amazing video covering all of the codes in the Book of Bill. So go show him some love and tell him I sent you. Link in the description to his video and channel. So anyway, back to the code. It's hidden in the middle of the page, in the crevice of the spine of the book. It's so small and faint that I needed to use a torch just to see it. It's actually so crazy. The code itself says, destruction is a form of creation. What's Ford's favorite color? In Dipper's letter to Bill, he leaves his own code for Bill, saying, P.S. I can write codes too, it's not that hard. Stanley's letter also includes a code. It looks like he's using a swear word, but it actually says, love you bro. On the Bill dying page, we have two codes, and they're absolutely crazy. Take a look. It just says, just fit in, over and over again. Yes, I went through all of this just in case there was some random stuff hidden between all of the just fit ins. It says just fit in like 12 times. But what does it all mean? Well, I'll explain that soon after we cover the last few codes. On the bottom of the same page is more codes, going sporadic as Bill gets punched into the afterlife. Here, take a look. Obviously, this just says axolotl over and over again, getting messier and less coherent as it goes on. Now, we know Bill's final words plead to the axolotl, so maybe this code is Bill's last thoughts before dying. And now that leaves us with only one more page of codes. On the message from the ferroprism, we have a number code that says, well being. Then we have a list of patients in Bill's ward. First we have Spheremonger. Then we have Eternalor. Then we have good old Bill Cipher himself, of course. Using Bill's name is how we discover the ferroprism code. The next guy is called the Logic Cube. Bro has a Minecraft head. I am Steve. Then we have Paingorius. And congratulations to him, he is the only one of the patients in the ward to successfully complete his therapy and gets to be reincarnated as a butterfly. The next one is called Jessica. While it's really funny that she has a normal name, it does get me thinking. Maybe this is way too much of a stretch, but maybe this is a reference to Jessica from Rick and Morty. Now, hear me out. I know Jessica is a fairly generic name. Sorry if you're watching this and your name is Jessica, but it's true. But look at what Jessica is diagnosed with. It says infinite life crisis. In episode 1 of season 5 of Rick and Morty, Jessica gets frozen in a crystal where she's still conscious.
Time. I had nothing but time. Endless time. I could see the life of time. And as I watched the life of time in all its fleeting, terrible light, I wondered, had I lived? Was I just the object in another story? Was that all I ever was? Could I be more? I had nothing but time, and still no answer. Time without purpose is a prison. I have glimpsed into the mind of eternity, perhaps the mind of God, and found nothing but silence.
Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds a lot like Infinite Life Crisis to me. Do I think it goes any deeper than just a potential reference? No, of course not, but I do think it was worth pointing out. The next patient is called Shadorg, then we have Mr. Silly, and finally we have the Beast, which you may recognize from Mabel's hallucination on Smile Dip. Apparently the Smile Dip mascot is actually an interdimensional criminal. Not just that, it's the only criminal besides Bill under max security. So when the dog tells Mabel, in reverse, to must distrust Grunkle, it's actually a message from a very dangerous interdimensional being. And that's most of the codes for the Book of Bill. I have left a few codes for later. The only code I'm not really sure of is at the very end of the book, in the About the Author bit on the book sleeve, is a picture of Alex Hirsch, which looks like it's glitching out. The glitches look a lot like the color cipher, but I couldn't find any in here. I haven't seen anyone really talking about it, so as far as I know, there's no code here, but it really looks exactly like the color cipher, so if anyone can find an answer here, please let me know in the comments. Whew, okay, that was a lot of codes, but now we've covered most of the codes, it's time to move on to some speculation, theory work, and some lore explanations. So, let's start with Bill's origin story. In Gravity Falls, we don't really learn too much about Bill's past, or much about his deeper emotions. The closest we get is Bill's conversation with Ford about his dimension.
You think those chains are tight? Imagine living in the second dimension. Flat minds in a flat world with flat dreams. I liberated my dimension, Stanford, and I'm here to liberate yours.
The next time we hear about Bill's past is from the original Journal 3. The Oracle knows a lot about Bill, telling Ford that Bill's thirst for power caused him to destroy his home dimension, including his parents and everyone else he'd ever known. The description makes Bill sound like a merciless killer who didn't care for his home at all, only craving power. So is that it? Bill's just evil for the sake of being evil. That's certainly how it appears in the show. He comes off as a being who's so powerful that nothing else matters to him. We are just ants to him. But we learn Bill might be a little deeper than that. In the secret pages of the Gravity Falls, Dipper and Mabel and the Curse of the Time Pirates treasure book, we meet the axolotl for the first time. Dipper asks the axolotl what he knows about Bill, and he says, 60 degrees that come in freeze, watches from within birch trees, saw his own dimension burn, misses home and can't return, says he's happy, he's a liar, blame the arson for the fire, if he wants to shirk the blame, he'll have to invoke my name. One way to absolve his crime, a different form, a different time. This doesn't tell us too much new information, it just reiterates that Bill destroyed his home, but it shows he at least misses home and feels guilt about what happened. Was what happened an accident? The fact that the axolotl goes out of his way to say blame the arson for the fire very heavily implies it was very intentional. But now let's hear what Bill himself has to say about his past. In the Book of Bill, we get Bill talking to us about what happened, but is he a reliable source? Let's break it down. Quote, "Everyone loved me immediately. The mayor dubbed me the best baby of all time, made my birthday a holiday, and gave out free knives. Look, I know you want some tragic backstory that humanizes me and makes my sharp edges easier to swallow, but if you came to a triangle looking for depth, you're barking up the wrong treatise. Truth is, I've always been loved and admired by all." Bill makes it seem like his childhood was wonderful and perfect, but that's far from the case. Bill was different from the rest of his race. Quote, "But being special came with a price. You see, I wasn't just smarter than all the dull trapezoids and rhombuses, sucking up my rightful oxygen. I had a gift, a rare mutation. I could see the third dimension. No one else in my stifling pancake of a reality understood what I was talking about. When I said there was a direction called up, while they were all bumping around like ants in a terrarium, I could see a world of infinite glittering potential beyond the sliver of a forgettable gruel that was my home reality. I looked up and saw the stars, and I was ready to be one." As Bill explained, he was different as a kid. He could see something no one could even understand, the third dimension. Bill talks to Ford about his home dimension. He says, "You think those chains are tight? Imagine living in the second dimension, flat minds in a flat world with flat dreams." Bill couldn't relate to his people. He was probably an outcast. Despite his claims of being loved, I don't think his world accepted him. I mean, look at the page where Bill is dying. The codes are potentially Bill's last thoughts as he was dying. The code saying axolotl makes sense. It's Bill desperately trying to survive. But what's the other code? It says, "just fit in," over and over and over again. If these are potentially Bill's last thoughts, they must be important. As a child, Bill must have been struggling to fit in, so all he could think of is to just fit in with everyone else. Maybe this was even drilled into Bill by a therapist. And that leads us to the coded Silly Straw page. Bill's condition of looking into the third dimension wasn't just a special ability Bill had over his race, it was probably viewed as a disability, and so Bill was treated for it. The code along the green Silly Straw says, "Eye doctor of a different kind, who wants to make his patient blind." So Bill's parents personally took Bill to a doctor to help cure his ability to see into the third dimension. The purple straw says, "The doctor says 3 sips a day will make their visions go away." And then the yellow straw says, "Fussy eater baby Billy won't drink unless it's silly." So as a child, they forced Bill to take medicine to try and remove Bill's ability. It's really sad. He was so young that they used silly straws to make him take the medicine. But despite all of this, it still didn't stop Bill seeing the third dimension. Maybe it's because Bill never fit in, or because Bill just wants to show his parents the stars and the way he sees, but Bill decided to show the world his perspective. Quote, "Technically, talking about the third dimension was illegal in my world, but I knew that everyone would be grateful if they could be freed from their delusion. I came up with a plan to show everyone what they were missing. I simply..." Their screams getting louder as I... So much blood! So much! Mandibles. My hands shaking as I realized I could never undo the... Was the last one breathed in? Episodes of Family Matter. Until there was no one left but me, covered in blood, alone in the universe. Maybe the second dimension just isn't compatible with the third. Maybe that's why it was illegal, but whatever Bill did, it destroyed Bill's entire dimension, only leaving a single speck of it left. It's hard to say if Bill did this out of spite, or by accident. The way Bill talks about it makes it seem like Bill only wanted to show everyone how he sees. But the axolotl says blame the arson for the fire. It very well could be intentional that Bill destroyed his home. Maybe feeling like an outcast drove him to do this. Maybe the fact that his parents got a doctor to try and change him made him resent them. The fact that he was covered in blood makes it seem like it was more personal, like he did it out of anger. Time Baby describes the event as the Euclidean Massacre, and a massacre is an indiscriminate and brutal slaughter of many people. It's to deliberately and brutally kill many people, making it sound as if it was very intentional. But again, it's very uncertain. All that is certain is how Bill feels about this event. Despite Bill's code saying forget the past, he clearly can't. Again, the color code saying he never sleeps, he never dreams, but somehow still he hears their screams. Even the axolotl when talking to Dipper says, saw his own dimension burn, misses home and can't return, says he's happy, he's a liar. Bill clearly feels guilt for what he did. It broke him, scarred him, and shaped the villain he would become. The last code on the Silly Straws page is particularly difficult. It's a bunch of numbers. The first numbers represent a season of Gravity Falls. Then the second is an episode, and the third number is the time in the episode. Doing this for the whole code gives us a collection of clips from Gravity Falls, which spells out a code.
Twisted out of shape after the
Ghost!
of his family.
Are you haunting?
Him still.
If you didn't catch that, it says, twisted out of shape after the kill, the ghosts of his family are haunting him still. Bill doesn't want to admit how deeply this affects him. That's why he blanks out the event in his mind, saying that he blacked out for 30 seconds. He also talks about his dimension being suffocating. After blanking out for a moment, Bill says, I freed myself from my suffocating world, and freed everyone else too, and everyone loved me for it, and everyone was fine. Bill's clearly in denial about it. Bill's troubled past explains a lot about Bill. It explains why he hates restrictions and rules so much. It also explains Bill's close friendship with Ford. While yes, there's the obvious reasons, Bill's using Ford for his portal, but it goes deeper than that. When Ford rebels against Bill, Bill acts like he's just broken up with his girlfriend, getting wasted at a bar. Bill sees himself in Ford. Ford is a bit of a freak like Bill, with his 6 fingers, but on top of that he's a genius who sees the world differently, and this causes Ford to be isolated and alone like Bill. Bill does genuinely like Ford, but the Book of Bill has one more secret about Bill's past, the name of Bill's parents. Now I never would have ever found this. As far as I can tell, this was found by the Gravity Falls Reddit, r/GravityFalls, and I was made aware of it by the Film Ferris team. It's a really impressive find. But anyway, the secret code they found is genius. So returning to the codes page, we have this alphabet wheel. This wheel is very important. So, hidden throughout the Book of Bill are these coffee cup stains. Taking a closer look at the coffee stains, we can see there are gaps in the ring. Each gap has dots next to it. The number of dots indicates which gap comes first in the sequence. Lining up the cipher wheel with the stains shows us what letter each gap equals. There are a total of 11 coffee stains throughout the book. The stains appear on these pages: on Ford's intro page, on Ford's second warning page, on the page about morality, on the Cipherstition page, on the newspaper from 1901, at the end of the Anti-Cipher Society chapter, at the end of the animation chapter, in the government top secret files, on the first page of the lost pages of Journal 3, on Stan and Ford's college applications, and finally on the page with the tape. But if you do crack the code, you will notice there's something missing. That's because there are an extra 2 coffee stains on the website, this is not a website, hidden on the countdown page. With all this done, we are left with the message, his dimension now ceased. Scalene and Euclid rest in peace, giving us Bill's parents' names. Scalene is a type of triangle where all 3 sides of the triangle are different lengths. And Euclid is an ancient Greek mathematician who was considered the father of geometry. Great, so it's this guy's fault I had to sit through geometry at school. But that's it for exploring Bill's troubled past. Bill did tell us most of this, but thanks to the codes, we can put together a more accurate, complete depiction of his past. Let's now move on to a new mystery. Which henchmaniac betrayed Bill? The Book of Bill has a chapter on the shaman. The shaman was Bill's first attempt at tricking someone into building a portal, but the shaman turned on Bill. He used magic to ban Bill from returning to Gravity Falls, and then created the prophecy of 10 symbols aligned in harmony that are destined to bear witness to Bill's defeat. But how did the shaman manage to create such a powerful prophecy? And how did the shaman get a vision of Weirdmageddon, warning him of Bill's danger? Well, the secret code on this page says, which henchmaniac ratted me out, implying the shaman had help from one of Bill's friends. But which one? Well, if we jump to the Meet the Crew page, it's pretty clear who Bill is mad at. The last crew member is scribbled out, with text saying, not important. So obviously this henchmaniac pissed off Bill, and what better way to do that than to create a step-by-step tutorial on how to kill Bill? If we look at the scribbled out text, we can make out some of what it says. Now, I've spent a lot of time on this, and I still haven't fully figured it out, but here's what I have. The smartest one figured out how blank, dimensional, blank, blank, small, who blank, too many eyes anyway. So what could potentially fit in these gaps? After out is most likely how. The A and L word could be the end of portal, but it doesn't really fit in very well. Now I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here, but instead of the word being how, it could potentially be another word, maybe horizontal. Now I know that seems kind of random, but hear me out. When Ford is traveling the multiverse, he gets stuck in a 2D dimension that he suspects is very similar to Bill's dimension. The 2D people attack Ford, but he's saved by the Oracle. Ford says he was sucked out of the 2D dimension and blacked out. Since it was a 2D dimension, maybe he moved horizontally out of the dimension. Maybe the Oracle knows how to escape 2D worlds. Just maybe she helped Bill escape out of his. If she did, it could explain other things about the Oracle, but again, I think this is a big stretch, and I'm not really convinced by it, because we know in general the Oracle can travel between dimensions, not just 2D ones, because if you put 7 eyes into This Is Not a Website, we get a burned picture of the Oracle, and if you flip it over, it says, "Leave him, escape to dimension blank. It's against the rules, but it's the one reality where you may be safe." This could support or debunk what I just said. It proves she can just travel between dimensions, going to dimension 52. But why is dimension 52 a place Bill will never find the Oracle? Maybe when the Oracle saved Ford, she didn't remove Ford from the 2D dimension. Maybe he traveled horizontally in the 2D world. Maybe dimension 52 is a hidden part of the 2D dimension. Maybe it's under the 2D world. The Oracle could have figured out how to hide or build or travel to a 3D place in a 2D world. That's why Bill would never find her. Bill would never go to a place that reminds him of his past, of his homeworld that he destroyed. So long story short, the scribbled out word could be horizontal maybe. But honestly, most of what I said is just speculation. It's just filling in the gaps with my own ideas. But moving on, the second half of the scribbled out message could say, "Portal too small, who cares?" But it still doesn't really fit. So I'm going to keep working on this message, and maybe if I figure it out, I'll put it in the video about This Is Not a Website. So if anyone has any ideas, please comment. I really want to solve this one. But back to the Oracle, we concluded that the Oracle is the one who betrayed Bill, and the book proves she used to be a henchmaniac, and on top of that, Journal Free confirms that she helps Ford fight against Bill. But is that all there is to the Oracle? If we look at all the other henchmaniacs, their name is on their picture, then the text starts with skills and position. But looking at what we can see of the Oracle's picture, it looks like she doesn't have a name in the picture, but instead you can look at the top of her text, we can see what looks like J-E, maybe spelling Jess or Jessica or Jessie even. It doesn't really matter too much, but it definitely doesn't say skill or role. So when Bill is recording this, does that mean that the Oracle was so important to him that he just refers to her by name, no role needed? I think maybe the Oracle and Bill may have been in a romantic relationship. Bill talks about love extensively in the Book of Bill, and most of it is regarded negatively, saying love is a trick, and worst of all, it's a trick you play on yourself. The book goes on to question Bill if he's ever been in love, and Bill deflects the question every time. Quote, "Bill, have you ever been in love? Sure, tell your mum hi from me." Bro made a your mum joke.
My mom!
At least, I hope it's a joke. Quote, "Seriously though, have you? Asking me if I've been in love is like asking a black hole if it liked your mixtape, or asking a subterranean fungal spore network who its favorite animated princess is. I'm a multi-dimensional specter of chaos that transcends reality. I couldn't possibly care less about which bag of plasma blushes at who or why." Okay, but like, you gotta be crushing on someone. "I will light this book on fire. Me thinks you both protest too much." Bill never gives direct answers, it always just sounds like deflection. Yes, Bill basically says he's an interdimensional being, so love is irrelevant to him. But if this book has taught us anything, it's that Bill is closer to us emotionally than he lets on. Finally, in the section called My Exes, is a big blacked out bit, implying that Bill did answer this, then erased it, and tried again, saying not relevant. "I don't have any, remember? Pal, at the end of the day, love is just a pupa for hate." So Bill is clearly hiding something. The blanked out text is the most convincing evidence to Bill having exes. Maybe that's why he resents love so much. But why would the Oracle be Bill's ex? Well, there's not really a lot of evidence, but here's a few things to consider. One was one of the things I mentioned before, about the Oracle not being given a role or skill, but just being listed by name, showing more care and importance towards her. Next is, the Oracle knows a lot of personal things about Bill, things that only someone extremely close to Bill would know. Ford says she has stunning insight on Bill. She knows how to block Bill entering mines. She knows about Bill destroying his home dimension, and more specifically that he killed his parents. And if I'm right about the Oracle creating the prophecy, then she also knows Bill's weaknesses. She also knows that Dimension 52 is a place Bill will never find them. How would she know all this without being close to Bill? Another little visual detail I noticed is, on This Is Not a Website, there's a photo of the Oracle. We can see little burn marks around the photo, like someone tried to burn the photo, but couldn't bring themselves to finish it. Maybe showing that Bill really did care about her. The back of the photo also starts with, "Leave him. Escape to Dimension Blank," which we know is Dimension 52. Now, yes, the "leave him" definitely could just be saying get away from Bill in general, but it makes it sound like leave him in a relationship way, like she doesn't want to leave Bill, but she's being told to because she has to. The next point to show that maybe the Oracle still cares about Bill is the way she talks about Bill himself. Quote, "She spoke of him without anger, but with a calm, steely, clinical resolve to his reign of terror. She doesn't seem to hate Bill, she's just doing what needs to be done. She speaks very clinical, as if she's trying to keep all her feelings away from this, knowing that if she does let emotions affect her decision, she may not be able to go through with what she needs to do. I think the Oracle was in love with Bill, but seeing his reign of terror across the universe forced her to leave him and abandon Bill and his team of hench maniacs. Being the only one who knows how to defeat Bill, she set her life goal to stopping him, helping key players in Bill's defeat. But does she still love Bill? And if so, is she okay with Bill dying? I think the Oracle is obviously placing the greater good of the universe over Bill, but that doesn't mean she still doesn't care for him. One of the most noteworthy details about the Oracle is all the axolotl imagery in her picture. She clearly knows of the axolotl, maybe even helps him. Maybe the Oracle is how Bill found out about the axolotl in the first place. Maybe the Oracle wants Bill to be defeated, so Bill will be forced to go to therapy and get help. Bill would never willingly help himself, so forcing his hand is the only way to get him to improve himself and become a better person, maybe even a person she can love again. I have one last thing to add about the Oracle. On the Oracle's page in Journal 3, the code says the opposite of Bill, and as the saying goes, opposites attract. But there we have it. I definitely dived into fan fiction territory there. There's just a lot of gaps and room to explore with the Oracle. I'm definitely convinced she's the one who turned on Bill and helped the shaman make the prophecy, but the rest is very up in the air. But let's move on to the next topic, Bill's end. Ever since Gravity Falls ended, we've always wondered what happened to Bill. Did he truly die? What was the axolotl about? Well, the Book of Bill finally gave us answers. After Bill invoked the axolotl's name, he was brought before the axolotl and given a choice. The axolotl said, "You cannot regrow through denial. You'll have to face my hardest trial. See my program to the end. Then you may yet live again." Bill was sent to the Ferroprism, where he will remain until he can change and become a good person. And that's where he currently is, trapped in internal therapy. So what's next for Bill? Can he escape? So let's run through a few different possibilities. So the worst and most boring scenario is Bill never recovers in therapy and never escapes. To quote the message from the Ferroprism, "Do not worry, if there is a better self to discover inside, our patients always discover it, especially if it takes forever." So basically, if Bill doesn't recover, he's there forever. Obviously, the other potential outcome is that Bill does recover and reincarnates. This has been speculated for a while. We've known from previous Gravity Falls books that the axolotl would reincarnate Bill, but we didn't know exactly how. There's been a lot of speculation about Bill's reincarnation. The most popular guess is Bill reincarnates as King from the Owl House. I mean, King has the exact same voice as Bill. Alex Hirsch is just doing the same voice.
Can it, Fangs? You don't know diddly dang about squiddly squat! Name's Bill Cipher. And I take it you're some kind of living ventriloquist dummy?
This would be a really cool way to bring back Bill. Since Gravity Falls is so well concluded, it would make sense to move Bill to a different show, to continue his story. The other way it was theorized that Bill would come back in another form was through Grunkle Stan. People thought since Grunkle Stan got his memories back, Bill would still be trapped in Stan's mind. And honestly, this also seemed really likely. Film Theory did a video years ago discussing that Bill is still in Stan. The Book of Bill did seem to disprove this, since we know Bill is in the Ferroprism. But there is something to suggest Bill still might have a connection to Stan. If you type in "I'm still on your mind" into This Is Not a Website, we get this video.
No, you're killing me. That's true.
We get this video of the side of a boat traveling across the ocean. We can hear Grunkle Stan in the background, implying that after the show, when Stan and Ford set sail, Bill still might be lingering somewhere inside Stan's mind. The Book of Bill itself is a potential escape for Bill as well. The plot of the Book of Bill is that from the Ferroprism, Bill has constructed the book as a last-ditch effort to escape. By reading the book, Bill is slowly reworking your brain and possessing you to swap bodies with Bill. So he's free in the real world and can restart Weirdmageddon. But this option doesn't seem likely, since the Pines family leaves notes in the Book of Bill which breaks the reader's link with Bill. But it would only take one person who reads the Book of Bill to ignore these warnings to free Bill. But what if Bill has already possessed someone? What if Bill possessed someone and got them to publish this book, to help spread Bill's book across the world as a bestseller? What if Alex Hirsch, creator of Gravity Falls, is possessed by Bill? The About the Author page basically tells us Alex Hirsch is possessed. Quote, "Hi friends, I'm Alex Hirsch, creator of Gravity Town, and I'm definitely not possessed by a demon right now. I'm using my normal human hands to write a message in stupid human letters commanding you to buy the Book of Bill immediately. The book contains never before revealed true story of Bill's cipher, his most cryptic riddles, darkest deals, and great advice for what to do with your sad pathetic life. And it's written by the greatest writer of all time, Bill Cipher. Alga's Hirschbook. A human, a regular man, made out of meat and goo. Alex isn't dead. He's fine. He's fine. He's fine. He's fine. He's fine. He's fine. I'm fine. Help me." He sure doesn't sound fine to me. But is this just a meta joke? Or has Bill already cheated death and escaped the ferroprism? And finally, the last option is the option I think is most likely. Bill's final page is him ranting about everybody leaving. He says, quote, "This dumb rock can't keep me contained forever. I don't need 1,000,000 followers, I just need one. It's only a matter of time, and I have all the time in the world. There's always another human. Someone else will pick up the book. Someone will shake my hand, and one day, when you least expect it, I'll be back. I'm fine. Someday, someone will let me out." As his words fade away, we see what's left of Bill, the cold, lifeless statue. But turning the page reveals that the eye is glowing. It only takes one person or one thing to shake his hand, and he's free. And if we look carefully, we can see a small bird on Bill's hand. Maybe Bill was released by this bird. Maybe Bill has possessed this bird. Either way, the Book of Bill left the door wide open for Bill to escape. All we need now is a good story worth telling for Bill to come back. Until then, I think Bill will remain trapped in eternal therapy. But that begs the question, what's next for Gravity Falls? I've been a firm believer that we won't see more Gravity Falls. I've always thought Alex Hirsch was satisfied with his conclusion and would stick by that ending, but Gravity Falls ended back in 2016. It's been a while, and it seems potentially possible that after sitting on it for a while, that Alex may have new ideas for Gravity Falls. I mean, look at the Book of Bill itself. It added so much new content and lore to Gravity Falls. It explored some more adult things. Maybe this could be the path forwards for more Gravity Falls. The Book of Bill was a bestseller, doing incredibly well, so no doubt Disney will be begging Alex Hirsch for more.
I will always love Gravity Falls. I will always want to return to it emotionally in some way, because the fandom has exploded in all these ways I've never seen before. It's made everyone on my side, on Disney's side, on everyone suddenly stand up and say, hey, whoa, there's a bigger appetite for Gravity Falls stuff than we thought. What do we do with that appetite? I'm not quite sure. But coming here, seeing all of you is giving me some thoughts, so that's all I can say.
So based on this interview, I wouldn't be surprised if we got more books. I still don't think we will ever get a season 3, but who knows, maybe a spin-off or a crossover or a prequel could happen. All I know is that the future looks really bright for Gravity Falls right now. Now, I've seen your guys' comments. Many people want me to boost Bill's villain ranking score on my villain ranking series. Everyone said that the Book of Bill has earned him some extra points, and you know what? I'm happy to boost his score. So first, let's change his score for design. I think I was a bit too harsh, giving Bill a 3 out of 5 for design. I was just a bit worried about seeming biased at the time, so let's change that from a 3 to a 4. I'll also increase Bill's presence score, since, as people pointed out, Bill is in every single episode in the opening theme for every episode. I'll again change Bill's score from a 3 to a 4. I would have increased Bill's score in personality and motives, because the Book of Bill really explores his motives, but I already gave him a 5 out of 5, so he's already maxed out there. So with these minor adjustments, Bill's score has increased from a 29 out of 35 to a 31 out of 35. But back to the Book of Bill itself. There's one more secret to cover. So as I've mentioned a lot, the Book of Bill has its own secret website, called This Is Not a Website. The link is found on the second book cover page, here in the fine print. But at first putting this link in wasn't enough. When the website originally went up, it opened with this, a blank screen with a single triangle and a space to put in a password. So the hunt was on for Bill's secret password, and Bill hid the key to the password in the perfect place. In the one true intelligence test, the beginning of question 3 is simply, what is this thing? Well, to answer the question, it's our hint to the password. Flipping the book upside down and looking at it from a certain angle, we can see it says, need a password? Fine, I'll talk. Then rotate it to the side, and it says, it's the name of the eyeball doc. What eyeball doctor, you may say? Well, back at the beginning of this video, in the references part, I brought up that there was randomly some pages from The Great Gatsby. This is a big hint on where to look. In The Great Gatsby, there is an optometrist named T.J. Eckelberg, and this is the password. Putting the password in would then send us to the countdown. The countdown is also where we find the extra coffee stains for the coffee code. But once the countdown was done, we were greeted by Seuss trying to fix some technical difficulties. But once Seuss actually fixed the website, we got this. A computer we can put codes and phrases into for extra lore. But this video is already super long, so I'll cover this website in its own video. I know that this was a really long video, and I know I'm releasing it really late. Before I cover the website, I'm going to do the villain ranking covering the Lich, since I promised that like a million years ago, but then after that I'll cover the website. Anyway, thank you for bearing with me.